Claire had been waking up exhausted for 6 weeks, not tired the way you get after a bad night's sleep, deeply, physically exhausted, the kind that sits in your bones and doesn't leave. Her doctor suggested she might be sleepwalking. It wasn't uncommon, especially during periods of stress, so Claire did what most people do now. She checked her Fitbit. The data confirmed it. Every night, between 2 and 4 a.m., the device recorded movement, steps, consistent, deliberate steps. Not the erratic motion of someone half awake stumbling to the bathroom. 2,000 steps on average, every night, like clockwork. Claire had no memory of any of it. She set up a camera in her bedroom, a simple one, pointed at the bed. The next morning she sat down with her coffee and watched the footage. She was in bed the entire night. She hadn't moved once, but the Fitbit said 2,247 steps between 2:14 and 4:03 a.m. She watched the footage 3 times, same result. Then she noticed something she'd missed on the first 2 viewings. At 2:14 a.m., exactly when the steps began, the bedroom door moved, just slightly, an inch, maybe 2. The kind of movement that could be dismissed as the house settling, air pressure, anything. But it moved at exactly 2:14, and at 4:03, when the steps stopped, it moved again. Claire called her building manager the next morning and asked if anyone else had a key to her apartment. The manager checked. 2 keys had been issued when the apartment was rented. Claire had one. The previous tenant had the other. The previous tenant had moved out 14 months ago and never returned the key. The building manager tried to contact her. The number was disconnected. Claire had the locks changed that same afternoon. That night, the Fitbit recorded 0 steps. She slept for 11 hours straight. She never found out who had been in her apartment. She never found out what they were doing there in the dark, walking those same 2,300 steps every single night, while she slept 6 feet away. But she still checks her Fitbit every morning. Old habits.
Daniel bought the house because it was cheap. Old houses in that neighborhood had been going for twice as much, but this one had been on the market for 11 months with no offers, and the seller, an estate agent handling the property of someone deceased, had dropped the price 3 times. Daniel didn't ask too many questions. He was a contractor. He'd renovated worse. The house was built in 1961. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a basement, a kitchen that needed everything replaced. He started with the basement. 3 days in, he was pulling out old drywall along the north wall when his hammer went through to nothing. Not the solid resistance of a concrete foundation. Nothing. Air. He pulled more drywall. Behind it was a second wall, older, the original brick of the house, with a gap between them of about 4 feet. He found the door 30 minutes later. It was small, built into the original brick, painted over so many times, the hinges barely moved. A hook-and-eye latch on the outside, the kind you could open and close from either side. Daniel opened it. The room inside was roughly 8 feet by 10 feet. No windows. A single bare bulb on a pull cord in the ceiling. He pulled the cord. The bulb worked. Someone had been paying the electricity bill on a house that was supposed to be empty. He looked around the room. There was a cot against the far wall, a folding chair, a small table. On the table was a plate. The food on it was fresh, not hours old, fresh. A sandwich, an apple, a bottle of water still beaded with condensation. Daniel left the house immediately and called the police from Yaskar in the driveway. They searched the property for 2 hours. They found no one, but the detective who led the search told Daniel something before leaving that he's never forgotten. The room had no dust. In a house that had been empty for over a year, in a basement full of decades of grime and cobwebs, that room had no dust. Someone had been cleaning it. Regularly. Daniel sold the house 6 weeks later at a loss. He never found out who had been living in the room. He never found out how they got in and out without being seen. And he never found out how long they'd been there. But the estate agent who'd handled the original sale mentioned, almost in passing, that the previous owner, the one who died, had complained to neighbors in his final months that he kept hearing someone moving around in the basement at night. He'd assumed it was rats. He'd lived with it for 2 years. When Paul and Diane found the baby monitor in a box of old things, they almost threw it out. Their son Michael was 19 years old. They'd kept the monitor out of sentiment, the way parents keep things they know they'll never use again. Diane plugged it in as a joke. "For old times' sake," she said. They laughed about it and went to bed. At 3 a.m., the monitor went off. Static at first, then breathing. Soft, slow breathing. The kind you'd hear from a sleeping child. Paul and Diane lay completely still in the dark, listening. Michael's room was at the other end of the house. His door was closed. He was a heavy sleeper. The breathing continued for 4 minutes. Then, silence. They told themselves it was interference. Another family's monitor, maybe. Crossed signals. It happened all the time with older devices. They were almost convinced. Until it happened again the following night. Same time, 3 a.m., and the night after that. On the 4th night, Paul got up and walked through the house while the monitor was going off, trying to find the source. Every room was empty and quiet, but the breathing through the monitor followed him from every room, as if whatever was breathing wasn't in a specific room, it was in the house. Paul had an electrician check the house the following week, then a technician who specialized in signal interference. Neither found anything that explained it. The technician did mention one thing. The monitor was operating on a frequency that hadn't been used in consumer electronics since the mid-1990s. Whatever it was picking up, it wasn't coming from another baby monitor. Paul and Diane unplugged it that night and put it back in the box. They haven't heard the breathing since, but Michael told them something at dinner recently that neither of them has been able to shake. He said that when he was small, 3 or 4 years old, he used to hear someone breathing in his room at night. He'd assumed it was the monitor. He'd found it comforting.